Okay, we're doing it live. Today, I'm pleased to share a new Google Colab notebook I've created, which I call GOATBookLM. It's an open source AI-powered podcast generator. It's called GOATBookLM because it's, of course, an homage to Google's NotebookLM, which is awesome. And it's their podcast generator, which generates amazing podcast breakdowns of any document with two voices, and it sounds really authentic and real. So yeah, I created an open source version of this which runs in Google Colab using Dia1B, which is an open source audio generation model created by Nari Labs. This is their GitHub repo. The model is available on Hugging Face. They've got a Hugging Face space where you can test it out. They've also got a Discord. And I think they're also going to be bringing out another model later. And what's so exciting about Dia1B is that it does audio generation, but with two voices within it, kind of similar to Google's NotebookLM, and it's open source as well. There are some quirks to Dia1B, as we'll see as we go along. The biggest one being that it can be a little bit unstable, a little bit unpredictable, and when you generate voices out of the box with it, you will get randomized voices for each generation you run. But one of the things I've been able to do within this notebook or this podcast generator is to control for that, so you get consistent voices all the way through. A little bit about how this notebook is structured. First, it just starts with a simple example of generating a basic short audio clip, and that's where you will also encounter the randomization of voices. After that, I take you into the podcast generator and the various techniques and tools that I've built into this. So first up, it uses a system of voice cloning, so using previously recorded voices to achieve consistency in the outputs. I've already provided those voices. They are available through this notebook, so you don't have to worry about sourcing voices. You can, of course, do that yourself. It also includes a podcast script generator, so you can just grab some free text, put it into the tool, and it will generate a script which is kind of optimized for Dia to get the best output of it. Output from it. And there's also a tool which allows you to regenerate segments of the podcast in case they didn't come out particularly well, and that can kind of happen with these audio generation models. And then finally, it exports a single file which you can listen to as a full podcast recording. So first up, we're just going to do some installs, and these will take a few minutes, so we're just going to run those. And I'll probably fast forward through these. Okay, so the installs are done. Next, we are going to set up our API keys. And there's a few to add in here. So you will need a Hugging Face user account and API key to obviously load the model from Hugging Face. And then you'll also need one or more of the following: an OpenAI API key, an Anthropic API key, or a Google AI Studio API key. And you should name them all respectively like this in the Google Secrets section here. So you just click on that and you add your key in and you just name it like this. That will enable you to use some of the richer functionality in this notebook. The OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google AI Studio API keys are used in the script generation part of the notebook. So the script for the AI generated voices to speak. So we're just going to run those. Cool, our keys are loaded in. Next up, we're going to run a test recording with the model. So this will just be a very, very simple short script that we're going to get the model to generate. Here's the script here. Welcome back to another episode of AI Unfiltered. So we're just going to run that. Now, the first time we run this, we might see that the model crashes. If that does happen, don't worry. All you need to do is just reload the cell and it will load properly the second time. Sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. So let's see what happens this time. Oh, and loading the model and generating these voice clips takes a little bit of time. So, don't get concerned if that happens. Okay, great. So we can see that the model took about like 5-6 minutes to load and to generate the audio clip. And here's the audio clip.
Welcome back to another episode of AI Unfiltered. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Taylor. Today we have some really exciting news from the text-to-speech frontier.
That's right. There's a new open source TTS model on the block called Dia.
Okay, there we go. So we've got that 2 voice generation. Now, the first time you power this up and the first time you run a voice clip through it, it takes quite a long time to load up and run. It doesn't take as long for later generations, and we'll see that now. So we did the initial text sound clip here. We generated this. Now we're going to run another text sound clip. We're going to run another text sample through it to generate another voice and generate another clip for it. So let's do that. Okay, so you'll see that second clip took a lot shorter time to generate, about 30 seconds. And here it is.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Cody. Great to be with you today.
We've got a fascinating new material discovery.
Oh, really?
It's big.
What is it?
Penn engineers found something to pull water from thin air.
From thin air?
So you'll also notice that for this second generation, those were different voices from the first one, and that's one of the things about Dia. There are a couple of ways in which you can control it or get consistent voices for each generation, and we're going to touch on that in a second. Now, if you want to keep playing with the model just at this stage, you can modify the text in here, and it will keep generating new clips for you each time. Out of the box, Dia has about, could do a maximum of maybe 20-30 seconds voice generation. If you go any longer than that, or if your text is too long, you'll get weird voice effects, like the voices will come out very fast. But you can experiment with this and just get a sense of the quirks of the model. Now, everything else in this notebook is trying to control for those quirks and to make it as easy as possible to generate podcast episodes with Dia. So how do we do this? So we are going to use voice cloning within Dia, and we are going to give Dia pre-existing examples of voices, and we are going to use those pre-existing voice samples as a reference point for the model on each generation so that we get a consistent output. And I've already created these voices. I actually generated them with Dia. There's a voice clip which has 2 female voices, one which has got a male and a female voice, and one which has got 2 male voices as well. Those are already in the repo, so all we need to do is run the code, and those have been downloaded and saved in a folder here called clone. And what you'll see is that there is the voice clip MP3, which is the sound clip, but then there is also a text file, which is the transcript of that clip recording. And that transcript is needed to guide the model on the generation. You can also add your own voice clips by using this upload tool. And what you would do is select a file to upload from here, and then select a transcript as well. And then you can edit the transcript. You can save the transcript, save the file, and then that will basically allow you to upload your own voice clips for cloning as well. I'm not going to go through that, but you can take a look into this if that's something you want to do. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is generate the podcast text for Dia. As you've noticed, because of the way the model performs, because there's 2 voices, you have to sort of have podcast scripts structured in such a way that they work well for 2 voices. And that will often include stuff like little comments like I see, or repetition or repeating back maybe what the last person said. There's a bunch of little quirks in the way that people speak that you have to try to kind of work into a script. By doing that, that also helps Dia perform better for you, because if you give it lots of long text to generate on, you are increasing your likelihood of there being errors in its output as well. So what I did was I built this tool which will convert free text, like say a blog article or something like that, into a script for Dia. And to do that, you can use a choice of models. So I've included Anthropic's Sonnet 4 or Google Gemini Flash or OpenAI's GPT-4 as well. And we'll run the tool and you'll see what that looks like. Okay, so to use this tool, we're going to need some text. I'm going to grab some text and we'll paste it in, and I'll show you what happens next. Okay, great. So for my source material, I'm going to use a Paul Graham essay. So I'm just going to put in Paul Graham, paste that in. And it's an article called Superlinear Returns from October 2023. And the model I'm going to use is Sonnet 4, although I could use Gemini 2.5 Flash or OpenAI's GPT-4o. I quite like Sonnet 4 just because it outputs really nice scripts. And then there's an option here to create scripts at different lengths. But what determines a script's length is basically something called segments, which look like this. So it's a sequence of 8 interactions between the two voices, followed by a set of asterisks here. And then this is used to process the script later on, so the scripts can be loaded into the model one after the other. Anyway, a little bit too much detail there. So for this one, let's have a look at an 8-minute script. Let's see what happens. So we've got Sonnet 4. We've selected our script. We've got our text in there, and we're going to generate the script. And we'll let Sonnet do its thing. Okay, so there we go. Our script has been generated now. If we just take a quick look at it, let's see what we got. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Jamie and I'm Cody. Great to be with you. We're diving into some fascinating insights about success. Yeah. Paul Graham's latest essay on superlinear returns. Superlinear returns, basically how small differences in performance create massive differences. That sounds counterintuitive to what we're taught. Exactly. So you can see that it follows like quite a natural sounding conversational approach. And what we have are these divisions here with these asterisks. And what that does is it will split the script up into a bunch of individual text files, which can then be loaded into the model, as I said earlier. So let's have a look through. This is a pretty long script that we've got here. Yeah, looks pretty good. And we can say use this text for the podcast. And you'll see here that it says it's splitting the script into the files for the generations. So now what we're going to do is we're going to generate the podcast recordings for the script segments. And to do that, we're going to use the voice cloning that I spoke about earlier. So what we will do is select voice. I'm going to go for the male and female voices.
Welcome back to another episode of AI Unfiltered. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Taylor. Today we have some really exciting...
So you can also preview the voices. Here's the 2 female voices. We'll just run those.
Welcome back to another episode of AI Unfiltered. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Taylor. Today we have some really
and then the 2 male voices.
Pretty amazing for scriptwriters, podcasters, or even game developers. Oh, and you don't need to fish around for complicated setup. Nari Labs has released Python code and a browser-based demo.
Yeah, I tried their gradient.
So those voices aren't terrible, and those voices were originally created by Dia, so there shouldn't be any copyright issues with them. So we're going to use the male and female voices. There is an option here to use a seed. I'd say stay away from that. I haven't really developed that out. The voice cloning will work for us. The max tokens for the output is just set. ignore that. The output format is by default WAV. I find that works better, but you can choose MP3. Then there's something in here called advanced parameters. And there's a setting called the CFG scale, which is supposed to influence how much the model adheres to the textual input. I don't really mess with that. And then there is something called the speed factor, and that determines how quickly the voices speak in the output. I set the speed factor to 0.92, which is a little bit slower. I find it works okay. It will mean the voices turn out a little bit slower and a little bit deeper than their source, but overall I think it works pretty well. And of course, you can, through the previous steps, upload your own voice clone samples as you wish. So what we're going to do is run the generation for the files and start generating our podcast. This will take a minute or two, maybe even longer. So there we go. The file generations have been completed. The model has run. We can just see all of those appearing here. So there we go. They've all completed. As you can see, there's quite a lot of clips in there. And I'm not going to lie, it takes a fair bit of time for Dia to generate all of the clips. But once they're done, they're done. And what we're going to do next is test a few of the clips. And I'll show you just some additional functionality in the notebook here. So what we can do here is select one of our clips and preview it. In addition to previewing the audio, we can also see the script the model was using to generate the audio.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Cody. Great to be with you today.
We're diving into some fascinating insights about success.
Yeah?
Paul Graham's latest essay on superlinear returns.
Superlinear returns?
Basically how small differences in performance create massive differences.
That sounds counterintuitive to what we're taught.
So that's one part there. Can play the next one.
Exactly. Teachers always said you get out what you put in.
Linear returns.
But Graham argues that's rarely true in reality.
How so?
If your product is half as good as competitors,
You get half the customers?
nope, you get 0 customers and go bankrupt.
Wow, that's harsh.
And then part 3.
It's not just business either.
Where else?
Fame, power, military victories, even knowledge.
The rich get richer phenomenon.
Graham says this is fundamental to how reality works.
Not just capitalism?
Right, it's a feature of the world itself.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
Now, sometimes what can happen with Dia is that you end up with audio artifacts in the clips. And I would recommend that you go through and you check all of your audio clips just to see what quality they're at. If any of the audio clips have come out weirdly, what you can always do is just click this button here and it will re-record or regenerate that section of the audio based on the script here. You can also, if you wanted to, if you didn't like the way the script sounds, you could make an amendment in it and it will regenerate and it will re-record that section with the new text in there as well. You just need to save the text changes, regenerate the audio. And that enables you to effectively kind of edit and clean and improve the audio from the generations, just in case there's any issues with them. So once you've done that, you have all your clips. The last thing to do is to just join them all together to create a final podcast file. And to do that, there's this script which concatenates them and outputs them as a WAV file. You can also output them as an MP3 if you want. I recommend WAV overall. And to join them all together, you just click concatenate files. And we'll give it a second. And here's our final podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Cody. Great to be with you today.
We're diving into some fascinating insights about success.
Yeah?
Paul Graham's latest essay on superlinear returns.
Superlinear returns?
Basically how small differences in performance create massive differences.
That sounds counterintuitive to what we're taught.
Exactly. Teachers always said you get out what you put in.
Linear returns.
But Graham argues that's rarely true in reality.
How so?
If your product is half as
If you want to download the episode, you can click download and that will save it to your desktop. And if you check in the folder section, you can see all the respective files which were generated in the process of creating the podcast. So these are all the text files that were generated for the script. Then you've got your outputted final audio file here, which again, if you wanted to download that, you can download it there. And that's about it really. What I would say with this tool is that obviously, this is open source. Dia is quite a small model, but there's potentially some power in there. And I would say for lots of people, this code notebook could be the start of your explorations into building a podcast generator of your own. You might want to use Dia. You might want to wait till they release maybe their next more powerful model. You might even want to rework some of the parts of this code to include or to use other audio generation models as well. Finally, if you need to delete your recordings and start again at any point, you just run that. Or if you want to delete out any of your text for any reason, you just run that and that deletes out the text. Okay, I think that covers it. Hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully you take a moment to check out GOATBookLM. Also, if you visit the repo and give it a star, or if you give this video a like, that's also hugely appreciated as well. And looking forward to catching you again sometime. Take care.